Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Coral. I'm back again with my wrap-up for April. Sometimes it gets confusing filming these wrap-ups and TBRs so close together because I can't remember which month it is. One time, I put the wrong month on my thumbnail for a video too, so I don't know why that's so hard for me to get, but it is April. Still, it's the very last day of April today. It's the 30th. And I've got a cup of coffee and I think I'm okay. I think I'm gonna be okay here. So, I've got all my little stats that I love to do. Oh, my dog wants in, but he's too noisy inside. In total, I read 2,731 pages. That consisted of 4 novellas and 8 full-length novels. I finished 9 books and I partially read 3. 2 of them were young adult, 10 of them were adult. I read 5 horror books, 4 fantasies, 1 historical fiction, 1 true crime, and 1 that I'll call dark contemporary, I guess. So it was a pretty, I like kind of spread out my, what am I trying to say? I read a lot of different genres this month. As far as ratings go, I had 1 1-star book, which really does not happen that often, but I'll get into that. 2 2-star books, 2 3-star books, 3 4-star books, and 1 5-star book. So, I don't know. It was an okay month. I really don't have a lot of months where I get 1 and 2-star books. So as far as that goes, it's a little bit disappointing. But I also read some good books. I actually think I've found one of my new all-time favorite books, which is weird because I didn't rate it 5 stars. I rated it, I think technically I'd give it 4.5 stars, but I keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And well, I'll get into that. So as far as my owls go, I did finish the 6 books that I picked out from that. So I think it's outstanding, was 6 books in my owls. So I will go over those books first. The first one, I can't remember the classes, but I am a magizoologist now. Well, not now, but that's the career path that I chose for my owls. So the first one for this was to find a book with a plant on the cover. I'm assuming that's herbology. But I read Castaways by Keene. I rated this 3 stars. It was about a reality TV show, kind of like Survivor, where a group of people, they got brought to an island and there's challenges that they have to do and one gets voted off once a week kind of a thing. And while they're on this island, they find out that they are not the only inhabitants and it's supposed to be a deserted island. So there are these cannibalistic hominids, they're not quite Neanderthals, but they're definitely not humans. And I thought this was okay. I don't know, some parts, the horror parts were really good. I thought there was some rape scenes in this, so if that bothers you, you might want to, I don't know, just have that in mind if you pick this up. I liked the TV show dynamic. I really like that in books for some reason. I'm not a huge reality TV show junkie, but I do love cooking shows. But it was just okay. I didn't think it brought anything super special to the table, but it wasn't bad. For the second book for my owls, I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This was a sequel it's the second book in the Wayward Children's series by Seanan McGuire. This is a young adult portal fantasy book, so there are these, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens here because that would be spoily, but in the first book, there are these group of kids and they've all come back to our world after finding doorways to what would be their like perfect life. And so that's what the first book is about. The rest of the series has been about the specific worlds that specific children from the first book go into. And I thought this was really great. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought that Seanan McGuire has some really great commentary on how we shouldn't put children in boxes, because they're going to grow up and be their own person, and we cannot force them to be who we want them to be. And if we do try that, it really fucks them up. So like, let your child be who your child needs to be. I like that. I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's wild. She loves to draw and she loves to get messy. And sometimes it's frustrating when I'm cleaning tracked in mud from outside for the 100th time. But I have to let her be her. And I feel that. So this was really good. I think the only complaint that I had was that being that this is this was less than 200 pages, I think that it probably could have been just a little bit longer. The end seemed super abrupt to me. But other than that, I really liked it. Next up, this book actually overlapped with my Halloween-a-thon, so I will be talking about it again when I do the wrap-up for that. But this was The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. This is a horror book. It's the novella that Hellraiser was based on, if you've seen that movie. And I gave this 4 stars. I thought, well, I've seen the movie a couple times, so like my way of thinking of it is kind of skewed, I guess, because I feel like this followed the movie really closely, but I mean, really, it's that the movie followed this pretty closely. It was good. It was short. There wasn't a lot of like stuff that didn't belong in there, you know, like it didn't go off on weird things that didn't matter, kind of like Stephen King does, you know. I really want to see more of the Cenobites though. That's what interests me the most about this, the Hellraiser franchise and this world that Clive Barker has created in this tiny little novella. And you don't get a lot of that, which is disappointing. But that's just the way it is, I guess. Not perfect in my brain, but a really decent novella. The next one on my owls list was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. The challenge for this was to find a book with a land animal on the cover. And I guess there is a little cat on this. The other copy that I actually read it's the one with the cat on the cover. But this one just looks pretty. So this obviously, if you don't know, is the story of a family who moves to a small Maine town called Ludlow. And they have like an elementary school age daughter and like a toddler son. And their neighbor tells them that behind their house there is a pet cemetery where kids from all around come and bury their pets once they die. So they take a trip up there and there's just animals that have been buried there like 100 years ago. Like it's so old and spooky. And eventually the father of this family, Lewis, finds out that there is a graveyard beyond the pet cemetery that is an ancient Native American burial ground, and people have tried to bury things in there, but they don't stay dead. So if you haven't read this, it is a great book. This is my second time reading it. I gave it 5 stars this time. I cannot remember really what I thought of it the first time I read it because I was like 12 years old. It was quite a while ago. I think that this book is more effective to me now though, because it deals with the loss of children, and I'm a mom, like I said, so that part really like hurts my heart. And I think it's really effective in that way. I can't remember what that was like reading it when I was 12 years old, but as an adult and as a mother now, that is one of the most horrifying things I can think of happening to me in my life. So, whew, this one hit me hard. I gave this 5 stars. Next I read, I can't remember what, I think this was just an adult book for the owls. This is what I chose. This is called Warm, Dark Places Are Best. This is by Mike Duke, and he's an indie author. And, wow, I just don't really know what to tell you about this. I don't want to seem like I'm coming out here to talk shit, because that's not my intention. I know it's really hard for indie authors to get their works out there. So I guess I need to be honest though, and I just did not like this. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I didn't particularly like the writing. It really felt like a rambling, it was not like reading a book. It was like someone had transcribed a conversation that they had, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. It wasn't really, I didn't think it was written particularly well. There's this really, there's like 4 sex scenes in this book, and it's less than 100 pages. And not that I'm prudish about that, because I like some steam in my books sometimes, but this was just obnoxious and so cringy. And I don't know. Oh, you guys, I don't know. This just was not for me. I guess I should tell you what it's about. It's about this couple who move into a really ratty ass, disgusting apartment building. There are cockroaches literally everywhere, except inside their apartment. So they're like, that's strange, but maybe, you know, maybe there was just an exterminator here recently or something. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you. The guy uses like 1,000 different euphemisms for a vagina, and some of them are so stupid. And like, just call it a vagina, okay? It's not a bad word. You don't have to call it the sweet spot or like my favorite place, or I don't even know. Some of them were so... Oh, let me see. Your wonderfully soft and magical vagina. Or what else? There's just lots of places where it was like me writing a conversation to my friend. Like if I were to say fuck, and I would like use like 12 letters that aren't necessary in that word. It's like, that's the stuff in here, and like I just don't, that's just too unrefined for me, I guess. And not like I'm fancy and I drink with my pinky up, but fuck. Anyways, I gave this 2 stars. I didn't want to give it 1 star because he's an indie author, and I don't want to completely just like, I don't know. I would have felt really guilty if I had given it just 1 star, but I didn't like it. This was not for me. I'm not a prude, but I don't need like 6-page sex scenes in a 100-page book where there's like pseudo rape, and then also they're talking in English accents. What the fuck? Okay. Anyway. So to wrap up my owls, holy shit, this video is going to be long, you guys. To wrap up my owls, I will talk about the book that I actually think I liked the most this month, which is so weird. I mean, maybe I should bump my rating up because I rated it 4.5 stars, but I just cannot stop thinking about this book. It was uncomfortable and it made my stomach hurt. I read it so fucking quickly, and it's just lingered with me. I mean, I read this, it must have been like 2 weeks ago at least, and I have thought about it every day since. And that is Tampa by Alissa Nutting. This was for the Read a Contemporary book challenge for the owls. And I'd say this is contemporary, very, very dark though. This is basically a retelling of Lolita, which I've never read before, so I can't, I'm saying this based off of what I've seen other people say about it. Oh man, this is about a young teacher, 26, her name is Celeste, and she has a very serious problem because she is attracted to 12, 13, 14-year-old boys. So, instead of seeking help or something, she becomes a teacher so that she can prey on these boys more easily. And she's manipulative, and she grooms them, and you read it and it is so disturbing. It's so disturbing. This was incredibly graphic. It did not, I don't know how to explain it, you guys. This is not for everyone. This will not be for everyone. This book is not for everyone. I cannot stress that enough. It's graphic. Like I said, it made my stomach hurt. It is heartbreaking. And I just don't fucking know how the author wrote this book and is like a normal functioning person. Not that I'm saying that she must not be. I'm just speaking to like the level of her fucking skills, I guess. I don't know. This book was so crazy. My cats are fighting. They're really throwing me off. But I loved this book. This was one of the 10 books I thought I would rate 5 stars this year. And I didn't rate it 5 stars, but I don't know. I'm just having a serious, like, personal, I don't know. I'm having issues with this book. I think it probably deserves 5 stars. I don't know. It's just so hard to read though. I don't know. And like, not in a bad way, not like it was badly written. It's just like, so, the content is so fucking nuts. So, as far as the other books I finished this month that were not a part of the Owls Readathon, the first one I have here is Blanky by Kealan Patrick Burke. This is a horror book. I gave this 3 stars. It is also about the loss of a child. So that was really hard hitting. However, I don't know. I was just reading it. I wasn't super absorbed in it. I thought the end was very good though. This is, let's see, I've read Keene by Kealan Patrick Burke, and I've also read 2 of his other novellas. So this is the 3rd novella, and I just like the other one so much more. Meow meows, will you guys stop it? Salem. Fang fangs, stop it. It wouldn't be so bad if my cat Salem didn't have such an annoying meow. This was not bad by any means. It just, I don't know, didn't really catch me, I guess. Okay, I also read, oh man, these last 3 are kind of, I shouldn't have ended on this note, but I am, and here we are. Let's see, I also read Eaters of the Dead by Michael Crichton. I started reading this and I realized that I think I've read this before a long time ago. I know that I've seen The 13th Warrior, which was a movie based on this book. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. The movie is so much better. Like, I saw some people dragging it like, oh yeah, it's a movie that you'll like if you're like a 12-year-old boy. And I'm like, well, maybe secretly I am a 12-year-old boy then, because I fucking love that movie. Eaters of the Dead is a historical fiction. It's about a Middle Eastern man who is sent to, he's supposed to go to some other place. I can't remember all the names. I read this at the very, very beginning of the month. And he kind of gets intercepted on the way up there by these like Norsemen. And he is kind of forced to go with them on this quest to help one of the other like Norse villages. And there are these weird, this is another one with like weird hominids that like maybe are kind of Neanderthals, but not quite. And these guys are also cannibalistic, so right up there with castaways, I guess. And they have to fight them. And this was like reading a textbook, like a slightly more exciting than a normal textbook. I don't know. In the back it says that he wrote this because it was like kind of like almost a dare. His friend's like, Beowulf will never be exciting, and Michael Crichton's like, oh yeah, well I'll write a story like a Beowulf that's exciting, and I'm not sure he succeeded in that endeavor because I didn't think this was exciting. I don't know. I gave this 2 stars. It just was meh. Like, I don't know. I don't feel any richer for having read this story. Now this one, oh my god, I know this video is gonna be so forking long. Okay, I read this book called Gosnell, and this is supposed to be a true crime story about Kermit Gosnell, who was a doctor who performed abortions in Philadelphia, I believe. And you know what? It's hard to talk about this because it sort of gets political because of the way that the authors decided to write this. So the story in itself, because it deals with abortion, is sort of easy to flip and like turn it some other way and make it an agenda, you know, and spin it. And that's exactly what these fucking people did, which I think is despicable. This was not a true crime story. This was like a story about a crime that these people had a very strong opinion on, and they were so shitty about it. They were like, oh my god, I would throw tomatoes at these people if I saw them in real life. It made me so upset, and I almost quit reading this book, but then I felt that I wouldn't be able to give a good review on it, and I wanted to do that. So instead of putting it down, I decided to start tabbing the parts that made me upset. So I think I was about 80 pages in when I started doing it, and I don't know if you can see, these are my tabs. And there would be more, except that I didn't start tabbing right away. This was awful. This was full of microaggressions towards women who have terminated pregnancies. This was full of microaggressions towards people of color. And they tried to say that, like, Dr. Gosnell treated white women differently, which I'm not saying that he didn't in his clinic. But also they were treating black women in this book differently. So they were no better than that. I guess I should tell you what this case is about. Like I said, it's about Dr. Kermit Gosnell. He was busted in like a drug sting because he was selling basically prescriptions. He was writing scripts and selling them to people for just like massive amounts of opioids. And so he got busted for that, and when they went into his clinic, it was like the most disgusting place some of these people had ever been in. There were cats roaming around, pissing and shitting everywhere. There were bags of fetal remains and like medical refuse just laying around. There was blood. There were bloody instruments. There were it was like medical equipment that just had never been maintained, so it was like rusty, and it was just completely unsanitary. No one should have been doing anything in there, let alone like terminating a pregnancy. So, man, it turns out he was just a bad dude. He had staff there that were not qualified to be doing the jobs they were doing. He didn't have an anesthetician, so like just these women who had barely graduated high school were like giving women drugs to anesthetize them and all sorts of crazy shit. Like, it shouldn't have been happening. There were women who died because they overdosed. There were women who caught venereal diseases. There were women who had infections. There were women who had to go to other hospitals because they had like perforated cervixes and all sorts of really heinous stuff. This guy just did not give a shit. So instead of just telling that story, that is just awful enough as it is, these authors turned it into a basically pro-life propaganda book. So I should have realized this when I looked and I saw that the foreword was by Alan Robertson of Duck Dynasty. But I thought, like, that's really strange. Like, that's too strange to be like the dude from the show Duck Dynasty, right? Like, that has to be some other weird Duck Dynasty that has to do with like a fucking true crime or something. But it was not. It was the guy from a fucking reality TV show who is not qualified to speak about abortion or any sort of women's medical anything. He's not a doctor. He's not a police officer. He's not a fucking journalist. He's a reality TV show dude. Okay? So, I don't know. And then I should have known also when there was a foreword and then there was a preface. And in the preface, the author says, like, if the anti-abortion position was so strong, it should be able to argue without resorting to emotionally manipulating its audience with fraudulent horror pictures. But once you have this mentality, it's very easy to completely dismiss pro-life activists. And the universities of the world are teeming with young people just like the young person I once was. So she's saying that she used to be pro-choice and she used to just blow off pro-life activists with their frankly fucking awful pictures until she got older. And then she realized that she was just a dumb kid. And you know what? I'm fucking 26 years old. I am no longer a dumb kid. I don't think I'm like past the college age for most people. And I still have this fucking opinion. And it makes me so upset that she says things like that. And then she goes on to write some of the, not only did this have a very clear agenda, but it was very poorly written. There was so many repetitive parts. There were parts that I just like I just had to skim because it's not the graphicness of this case. It was the fucking writing. It was so bad. I don't know. I just could go on for fucking days about this goddamn thing. They were calling fetuses babies. They were referring to pro-choice people as pro-abortion, which is not the fucking case. I don't know. They were demonizing women who had had abortions. There were like 3 or 4 women that they talked about in this book who had not been to Dr. Gosnell at all. But then they were like, and she's had 3 abortions herself. And it's like, does this have anything to do with this fucking book? Oh my god. I don't know. There was parts where there was just like pages where she was repeating people's tweets about the case. She was talking about how the liberal media wasn't reporting anything about this. But then she like goes on and like 2 sentences later to say that like places like Fox News weren't covering it either. And it's like, well, then just nobody was covering it. Just say that. It was not a one-sided thing. It was that nobody was covering this case, which is awful. But that has nothing to do with the abortions here. And that has everything to do with crimes against Black women and people of color being underreported. That has nothing to do with this case specifically. That has everything to do with the lesser dead. That has to do with people who have a high risk lifestyle. So, you know, just the media thinks and stuff like that. And I don't know, this just gets me so worked up. This book was just all over the fucking place. It was horrible. I gave it 1 star, and I think this might be my first 1-star book this year. It was, oh my god, I don't know. I'm so mad about it. I'm still mad about it. God, it's so many. Okay, anyways, those are the books. I'm sorry. Holy shit, my cats are being ridiculous. But those are the 9 books that I actually finished this month. I also partially read Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. I read part of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. And I read part of Girls of Paper and Fire. I plan to finish all of these in May, hopefully, along with the other books I need to read. Oh my god. I need to stop talking. I think this video is going to be like 30 minutes long. Oh my fuck. I'm sorry. If you've watched this whole thing, bless your tiny little heart. I need to go finish my coffee and, I don't know, eat a cheese stick. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you have any opinions on these books. Just let me know. But that's all I have for you. Until next time, see you later, alligators.